Good morning, everybody. How's it going out there, TV land? Who said that? Some guy from the 50s. I can't remember who it was. But I do remember the show. I remember hearing it there. Anyhow, interesting day yesterday. I watched the Giant game. And I have to tell you something. That was some game. I would have been at 41-40, and Wilson was having an epic day until he decided to revert to the old Russell. Now, on this play, people are blaming the receiver, and I'm not so sure. Could have been. They didn't show enough of the receiver's route for me to understand that. But what it appeared to, that Russell reverted to his old self, just standing back there, the last couple of years, where he just stood back there and hauled the balls, threw it as far as he could, and prayed. Unfortunately, it went to the other team. And over a 450-yard day went down the tubes. Meant nothing. Doesn't mean anything. It's a personal record. It's got nothing to do with anything else. Okay, they lost the game. That's the big deal about that, They probably covered the spread, I don't know, but they lost the game. And there was a lot of weird stuff going on this day. It's like the Chiefs looked like they were going to come back and quite possibly be competitive against the Eagles, maybe even winning the game. And Chelsea just bobbled the ball. It wasn't, there's no other way to describe it. It wasn't a horrible pass. It was something that Kelsey's caught almost every time. But it happens. And this is another thing where a team starts to look spectacular, look like the old Chiefs, and then all of a sudden the game's over. Football's beginning to be. They weren't predictable games, but they were very, very, very good games in terms of competitiveness, and you kind of sort of felt the outcome was going to be what you thought it was at the beginning of the game, but, you actually started rooting that this was going to be the comeback of the year and all this, and they were going to win a game that they shouldn't have possibly won, especially the Giants and then the Chiefs later on, I don't know. It's a horrible situation. Okay, the weekend. Consumed by Charlie Kirk and the Emmys. I don't watch award shows of any kind. I used to be forced to do that when I was a kid because my parents would watch when they first put the Oscars on TV. And my niece has a lot to do with the production of the Oscars and stuff like that, or she used to, because she's head of media for IBM. And so I would watch it just to see what it was like, and I'd fall asleep or something, these weren't shows worth watching, in my opinion. They talked about movies that there's no way in God's creation I was going to watch. They weren't my style of movie, and I'm not talking about just because they weren't. Look, I thought Love Story was a great movie. I thought everything was perfect inside. I thought it was a great, great movie, and the critics panned it. So I'm not an expert. What I like is obviously the opposite of what the professionals seem to appreciate. So I don't bother watching those shows anymore. I think they're pathetic. I think it's self-indulgence, and that's all it is. My wife's home. She came back from her a little excursion to Cartagena. My wife is very depressed, and I got to see what I can do to get her out of that. Not sure how I can do that, but I got to try. Every time I say something, it's wrong, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this, but we'll see what happens. She has to go to the doctor this afternoon and wants me to go with her, at least to help shop, because we have some things we have to buy, take some money out of the bank and what have you. But that's that. Kind of a hot. It was a hot weekend. Today's the hottest day yet. I mean, it's brutal out there. I don't know what. Let me see what they say the temperature is. Hold on a second, because that comes up on my phone right away, so I don't have to go to the Weather Channel or anything like that. You can watch me do it, you know. It's not coming up now. Why is that? Huh. Oh yeah, they say it's 65 degrees. If it's 65 degrees outside, I'll tell you what. There's ice in the street. It's so hot, Lucy didn't even want to walk. Lucy just wanted to come home. And she's over here. She's stretched out on her bed, or one of her beds. She's got two. One is in my bedroom, and one is out here in my office, so she stays close to me. I have a project for my wife and myself this weekend. I don't know whether we're going to get to do it or not, but we'll see. What else is going on? I'm sure she's got plans for the niece, the new niece to come over this way, great niece. But we'll see what happens. I hope so. I enjoy their company. Hope it cools off a little bit before that. And now, let's see, what's Trump doing? Trump wants to change the way we look at the economy. I don't know whether any of you ever noticed this, but there's quarterly reports are necessary, get published by companies, you know, profit and loss and you know, all that stuff, you know, what they're doing and everything like that. And that has a certain effect on the stock market. And he wants to change that to make it yearly. And, you know, I don't know enough about economics to know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, or how it's going to affect our economy. I'm not sure. And that makes me a dumb person, I guess. But I think it would allow companies to hide a multitude of errors. And that it may not be as accurate as the quarterly reports are. Which means that the stock market has a year to screw around. And I don't think the stock market's relevant anymore. You know, and that's sad thing, but that's just the way it looks. It just doesn't look like the stock market is relevant in terms of what's going on with the world economy. You know, you get things like that Trump can say something and affect the economy, the stock market, yet nothing seems to really affect the economy. I don't know why prices are as high as they are due to wages and benefits being paid to the being paid to the employee. Okay, now I was an employee and I enjoyed the wages and benefits, but I would get one of the things I always noticed is they would give us a raise, a cost of living adjustment or whatever, depending on where I was working, you know. And within 6 months, the raise was gone. Didn't mean anything, you know, because all the prices had gone up. Everything had gone up to match the raise in the economy. It's look at it now. You know, there's some states where you have to pay $15 an hour to some guy to take your order at Burger King. Okay, minimum wage. That's the lowest paid job in Burger King is $15 an hour. Now, not Burger King, but you know, I don't want to signal Burger King out for that, but it's all those fast food restaurants. It's the same thing. It's like, I think it's California has the highest rate. It might be even up closer to $20. But what they do with that is they hire more people. They hire more part-time people. They stop hiring full-time people. Now they're paying the same. They're paying a little less money for part-time people, not much, or it might be the same thing. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference. But they keep these people from making being required benefits and things like that. So that saves them money, so that they can pay them the $21 an hour. But now you're paying over $10 for a piece of shit that looks like a hamburger that's overcooked and soggy lettuce and whatever and a soggy bun, and you think this is the greatest thing in the world to eat, as a snack. No, I'd rather eat a protein bar or if I go to lunch, I go, well, I want a hamburger down here. We have Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's. We have them all around here. Not necessarily in this area. Only Burger King and McDonald's are in this area. Of course, they have their own version, Popeyes down here. I think it's called Popeyes. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyhow, they have their own version of fast food restaurants down here. But there's a hamburger joint on every corner. And you may pay more for that hamburger, but you get you're getting French fries with it. You're getting your soda with it and everything like that. And you get to sit down in a restaurant and enjoy it. I go to Chef Burger. They got a few different kinds of hamburgers on the menu, and I like one called the Sailor. Really good, spicy. And you have, depending on what order, you're either getting 100 grams or somewhere around 50 grams of meat. Does it cost money? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. Okay? The food comes out cooked the way you want it. If you don't like it, you can send it back. It doesn't come out tasting like a piece of day-old shoe leather, which is what McDonald's does even in the United States. They do that in the United States. You don't get a nice juicy hamburger there unless you're there when they're actually cooking hamburgers. Most of the stuff you get, if you walk in right away, you could be getting stuff from yesterday that's been put in the cooler. Okay, because their whole thing is fast food. And let me tell you something, if you cook a burger to order, it's not fast. I'm a chef. I know what happens when you do that. I went through a lot of grief with that. People said, you're cooking hamburgers to pre-order. I said, I just warm them up. I said, if you want to stand in line for a half an hour while I cook hamburgers for people, fine. I got no problem with that, But don't break my balls, because you want to eat. I was in the cafeteria. I says, you only got so long to eat. I only have so long to cook. All right? And you're going to stand in line and you're going to yell and scream at me, so fuck you. You take it the way it is. If it's over, it won't be overcooked. I can guarantee you that. And they weren't. They weren't overcooked. They were good. So, and I served. I upgraded the menus sometimes with that. But that's life. What else can I tell you? That's part of the economic reasoning about this. If you raise the wages and then the prices go up, and then within 6 months you're living at this, you're not saving any money. They don't want you to save money. The average worker, the people that are designed to save money already have billions in the bank. They don't care. And the thing you have to understand is that you can order a company to do anything, but if it starts to affect their bottom line, the prices are going up. They are not going to accept less profit. They cannot work that way. Okay? Even though they're still profitable, they're not going to take less money. All right? Once you understand that, you understand everything. One of the things that AT&T did when they had all these big layoffs and everything, they were saying, well, they don't have the business anymore. That was true in the beginning, but after a while they learned something. When they would do these huge layoffs or split off pieces of the company, and what they did is they brought these people back as consultants. They paid them a higher wage, but they didn't have to spend billions of dollars on benefits. They didn't have to pay them vacation. They didn't have to pay them health insurance. They were consultants. They got a salary, and that was it. And all these people came back to work for them, and they didn't have any benefits this time around. No hospitalization, nothing like that. Okay? They had to pay their own hospitalization and everything. That saved the company billions of dollars. And the same thing when they bring people over on the H2, the people from India on the special visas there. What's it, the HB2 or whatever it is anyhow. I don't know the number combination or whatever, but you know the visa that's in the news and everything like that. These are work visas for Indians and Pakistanians and Bangladeshis and Germans and whatever have you, you know. They bring these people over. They pay them less, work them more, and there's no benefits in most cases. So if there's no benefits, they pay them a little bit more money. It's the same as the consultant. Benefits were too expensive for AT&T. AT&T, I don't have the numbers right. If I said a number, I'd be lying to you right now. But I was just closing my eyes trying to think about it. But I would be lying to you because I'm not sure what the numbers were. But it was in the billions of dollars that they spent on benefits, you know, as compared to wages. So that's, you know, that's why they hate unions. And unions are still, the biggest joke in the world is the railroad union. Now most rail yards are, and the cars are all controlled by computer. They move the cars around. They don't even need an engine in some rail yards. The cars just move by themselves, theoretically. I don't know whether they have little motors in them or whether there's some sort of thing in the track or whatever. Anyhow, they take these cars and they move them around the rail yard and they get them all hooked up. But you need a brakeman. Now, I met a brakeman one time, quite a few years ago, over 20 years ago. And all he did was travel around the country. He's a young kid. Lived a great life. Slept in the caboose or something, or on a train, and then go. You know, he would just go wherever he wanted to go. He'd hop on a train and he'd get, you know, free transportation. Every once in a while he'd have to climb up and turn the brake by hand, but not very often. Usually that's when they came to a siding for some sort of reason, that they had a train coming from the other direction and they had to get off the main track and move over to a side. They needed the brakeman, but other than that, no. Is it a dangerous job? I'm not sure. To a certain degree, you know, you're climbing around a train, so anything like that is always a danger. But for the most part, they just don't do anything. Very highly paid job. Very highly paid job, and it's basically unskilled labor. All right, so that's a joke for the union. They have to have it. They can't operate a train without it, and there's no safety standard saying they have to do it. The union contract says they have to do it. And they hire people that aren't necessary. They have to have them there. Mostly it's because they need somebody to blame if something does go wrong. And that's who gets the blame, not the computers, not the technicians, not the people with the lights turned on. They had the wrong light, warning light was flashing or something like that wasn't supposed to be flashing, or was flashing that wasn't supposed, one of those deals, which is all technical. They fire the guy on the train. All right, because the TV cameras that they have running, that they have, viewing out front of the train with the same as things that they do with the driverless autos, So that's kind of stupid, but that's the economy for you. That's why prices go up. They're never going to go down. Produce is the only thing that goes down because you get overstocked and you have to get rid of the stuff. Otherwise it spoils and goes bad. But canned goods, things like that, those prices very seldom go down. All right, listen to me. This is Monday. I hope I was entertaining. Got it. But anyhow, don't forget to subscribe to this laughable channel, and you get to see my fat belly, my favorite little girlfriend over here, and hear the vacuum cleaner running in the background. Okay, so subscribe to the video, and I will see you tomorrow.